Yo, what's up, everybody? My name is Kid Ikarus, and this is my podcast. My guest today is a producer and rapper. He's a part of the group Sueno. You can find his 458 session project over on SoundCloud. Please welcome Ace Montiel.
What up, everyone? You got to say it one more time?
This is Sueno? Yeah? Okay.
You got it down.
Alright, we're recording right now. I just like to jump into it, you know. So let's talk. First off, how you been?
I'm good, bro.
How's your week been going?
It's been, well, apart from, what we were just talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I'm a little bummed. I was working on my boys yesterday. We were working on a track, and then at the end of our session, for whatever reason, Ableton just crashed on me. So I'm having to deal with that. I reached out to them this morning. Just coming from the coffee shop and doing that. So we'll see how that goes. It's a pain in the ass. I've gone through it before, and it just sucks. But
yeah.
Apart from that, I think the weekend's been good. I'm glad to be
Right
here.
on.
Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, dude, thanks for coming through and sitting down. So I know that for the most part, what I can find is your production,
Yes.
your beat making and stuff. Are you an MC as well?
Yeah, right now I've kind of been more focused on the production, making beats and whatnot. But I also do like to write, rap a little bit.
Yeah.
And so,
I'll tell you what, that Midnight Blue beat that's bomb. Yeah,
Oh,
that sounds excellent.
hell yeah, appreciate that.
I was sitting at home earlier playing Hollow Knight. You ever played Hollow Knight? No, it's fantastic. It's a game. But that Midnight Blue is a good soundtrack for it.
For something like that?
Yeah, sitting there playing it, listening to it, like, okay, yeah, vibing out to that.
So you were actually doing that? You were listening to
Yeah.
Blue while playing? Oh,
Yeah,
dope. Okay.
yeah. I was going through what I could find of your stuff.
Yeah.
Mostly it's on SoundCloud and YouTube. Those are your main platforms.
SoundCloud, YouTube. I got a couple of videos up on YouTube too of me kind of because I also play the keys and I'm learning the keys. So I got a couple of videos of me doing a couple covers that are up on YouTube as well. So
Okay.
SoundCloud, YouTube, and I got a little bit, some stuff on Spotify as well, Apple Music, but mainly just that SoundCloud.
How would you describe your style of music? Do you describe it as hip hop, or is it? Do you go into some other specific?
Definitely
genre?
go into some other genres. Yeah, I hip hop. I love hip hop, man. But I've also noticed that like the older I've gotten, like I've kind of been listening less to hip hop.
Okay. Yeah, I get
and
that.
more into definitely electronic music. I've kind of been playing in that space for a bit too. So I would say, to describe my music, I would say it's like a mix of those two for sure, hip hop and electronic music.
Yeah, and you said you use Ableton, which
yeah.
all the people I know who use Ableton are like EDM kids.
Bass. Yeah. So I try to incorporate both. Just yesterday we were one of my boys. He has a bunch of synths, so we were playing with that. A lot of my music has risers, drops, stuff like that. So that with I find myself kind of creating like at lower BPMs, which is kind of like where the, like 80s to like 100s, which is kind of like hip hop space. Yeah. So I guess maybe that's where you can kind of hear the hip hopness in some of my music.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the fact that I like to rap and write as well, so
yeah,
that adds to it too. But yeah, it's just
You said you play the keys. How'd you get into making music? Was it through more traditional means, learning how to play the piano? And
It was actually So my uncle way back, and I'm going way back. Like the first time I could remember myself really playing with the keys was like when my uncle was still living with us at the time, and he had a piano, and I remember just me kind of messing around with it, but never really dawned on me that I was like, yo, this is what I really like. I truly enjoy this. Like,
Yeah.
I was more so, honestly, most of my life was spent, as I was growing up, was spent playing sports. Like, I used to play, I still do, not competitive anymore, but I grew up playing soccer.
Okay.
So that was more, I think at the time, I was more just like interested, my focus was like on soccer. But I think it was when I kind of got into college, really, is when I first kind of started writing.
Okay.
I would just write, like I would go on YouTube and look up, instrumentals.
Yeah.
And I would just write, and that's kind of how I started. The interest in music kind of came in that, through that avenue a little bit. And then sure enough, just like me kind of, exploring more, I came across, a lot of pieces that had, piano in it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, like I'm not too, I wouldn't say I used to play like at a higher level before, but like I've definitely kind of played around
Messed
with piano.
around with it
And I was
before.
like, I'm gonna buy one. My uncle didn't live with me anymore, obviously, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy one. I went and did that, and then sure enough, I kind of just started playing. I started playing around. I started playing like covers, music that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Really just that was really how it came to me as far as wanting to get the piano.
That's dope. Piano is one of the instruments that I'm jealous of people for being able to play, because piano music is so as I've gotten older, I've gotten away from the more aggressive music I liked when I was younger. And so piano music is some of my favorite music to listen to now, because it can be so harmonic, but still calm. Like guitar music is so aggressive. You can play chords, but like it's aggressive chords and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas the piano can be so smooth and soft. There's not as much twang to it. Even if you're playing acoustic guitar, there's a snap to it.
Yeah.
That's more punchy than I like. Where like piano, you play it soft, it just comes out so smooth, and I love that.
Yeah. And it's also tied to like me listening to a lot of like lo-fi study instrumentals too. Like, that's also, I hear a lot of piano in that.
Yeah.
And I try to sometimes like reference a track, for example, and then just try to create off of that reference track, and I'll get on the keys and I'll try to mimic it. So I think that's also
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about finding those YouTube instrumentals and writing to that. It just made me think, like, that's kind of a new thing. Like, I did that in high school, and I'm sure there's tons of us that did that. And, like, our generation's kind of the first one that have been able to do that. Like, other people didn't have this, like, wealth of YouTube beats to use as a start. It's kind of interesting, right? That we have this available to us. Sorry. So there's a bit of a less of a barrier to entry as a vocalist, but you still took the steps to create your own beats after that.
It started from there for sure. Again, also just kind of going to concerts and festivals, that also just like brought a bunch of influences.
Okay, so I
gotta make some.
You're a legit concert goer.
Yeah, I love going to festivals.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
20? Okay, same age as me. Because you seem young, so I wasn't sure if you're from a generation below me, still going to concerts and whatnot. Me as an old guy, I'm like,
we're the same age, man. Come on,
I know, that's what I'm saying though. Like when I used to go to a lot of shows and stuff. Now I'm very much like, I'll go if like homies are playing or something. Though I'll tell you what, I was never a big fan of big shows. I was always a fan of local to semi-local shows, just because like I like being able to see the band. Like I've been to shows where the crowd is so big that unless you get there before everyone and stay in the front row through the whole show, you're not going to be able to even see the band because they're like specks on the stage a mile away. So I've always enjoyed like bars or like smaller clubs where
closer
like
up, a little bit more intimate.
Also, like those were just always the artists that I like.
That you like.
What
kind of artists do you like?
All kinds, which always sounds like the worst answer. But like I was in a hardcore punk band in high school called Dying to Live, and so like during that time I went to those types of shows constantly. I'm like 3 times a week. And those are my all-time favorite types of shows to go to, because there is a bit of a ritual to it. You know, everybody dances. Like it's part of the culture to get in the pit and dance and stuff.
That's wild stuff, man. I've never gone. I've seen some videos, but the pit is next level. It's wild because the first few times I went to shows like that to get in the pit, I got hit all the time, and then almost immediately by like the 5th show it was like, no, that's a thing of the past. Like I understand it now my reaction time is so much better to get out of the way, and it's such a community because everybody's doing that, because everybody has been hit, that it's like we're all part of this instead of we're here to watch the people who are actually doing it. It's like, no, we're the ones doing it. The band is just like providing the background music to it. That's so mind-blowing to me, honestly, because again, I've seen videos of like people just like going at each other, man, and I'm just like, how do you not? I mean, like, how do you not? Like, I've seen people get like good hits off of other people, and I'm just like, oh, hell no, like that would have been, like, you know, that's not playing around.
There's different types of shows depending on the band. It's really interesting the way that it works, because the hardcore music has a lot of really good Christian bands and really good like peace and love bands, what we call posecore, and then a lot of hateful, like life is meaningless, kill somebody kind of music, you know. And they'll play shows together, and depending on who the audience is there for, the audience will have a completely different vibe. I've mentioned them on the podcast multiple times, but this band Goliath that I used to see a lot, they used to have this song where all the music would cut out. They say, "Open up your hearts and let that hate out," and then the breakdown would come in and everybody would go crazy. And they'd have a crew that would come to their shows that was just ready to start stuff, and just crowd bashing is what we'd call it, just going around the pit, hitting the people on the crowd and stuff. And so like you go to a show like that, it's a completely different energy than a band like the Ghost Inside, who are more like positive and like and then it also changes the things that people do, because there's less like moshing in the pit during something like the Ghost Inside, and more of the getting on stage and yelling into the microphone and then stage diving. The ritual of it is what I love, and it's something that I am trying to find in hip hop. Like I'm trying to figure out what the hip hop version of that ritual is, because in my experience, hip hop shows are a bit less participatory. Like the crowd doesn't engage as much, and I'm looking for that. I'm trying to figure out how it comes together, and it may be that hip hop is not music that's particularly designed for concerts as much as it is designed for music to listen to. You know what I mean?
I would say, the closest maybe thing to something that that you're describing, I think would be just off the top of my head, the Travis Scott, like, and then
Yeah.
that whole incident that happened with them, a couple, 2 years ago, something like
Yeah.
that. But I mean, his crowd gets
Wild.
crazy.
Yeah.
They go nuts. So
Yeah, there's definitely like the cultures have crossed over
Yes.
a lot in recent years.
Yeah.
It's when XXX died, like around that time, like that style, his style particularly is very much like he's obviously, you can tell in the music from that scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a few songs where you hear him scream and it's like, oh, this isn't Fall Out Boy style screaming, because like Fall Out Boy would have some screams, but it always felt like, oh, this doesn't feel like hardcore, even though those guys are hardcore kids. But like when you hear XXX scream, it's like, oh, this sounds like Acacia Strain or something. Like he's really part of this. You remember what was that? Sheck West. That Sheck West song that came out in like 2019, Mo Bamba. I just love that song. That kind of like shouty over 808 bass kind of music that was getting big at that time, which I think has died down a bit.
I'm actually not familiar. Sheck West.
Sheck West, yeah.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah. I'm Sheck West and I'm getting really rich. Yeah, it's a good song. It seems like that style of hip hop literally died out.
So, yeah,
Cause like XXX died, and then like Juice WRLD, I feel like had the same kind of scene, and of course the white guy with the face tats and Lil Peep. Yeah, like all the big names in that style literally died. It's strange. I guess when angsty, depressed people go over to hip hop, they start doing drugs or getting into violence, and it ends bad.
Right. That happened a lot. I mean, last year. Was it last year when all these? Because when did XXX?
Oh, that was
like 3 years ago or so.
I think probably like 2017. Yeah.
Okay. I just remember like a fade, or just like a period in time where like all these artists were like passing away, man, and I was just like, what the hell is going on?
I'll tell you what it was. It was the FBI putting fentanyl into everybody's drugs so that they could have a reason to go to war with China. That's what it was.
Took it there, huh?
Yep. No, because there keeps being reports of fentanyl deaths, and I'm convinced it's not actually fentanyl. I think that because that's what it always is when deaths happen. It's always, this new drug that everybody's unaware of, but it's like, drug dealers aren't trying to kill their clients. Like that's how they get paid. So I'm suspicious about this whole, drug dealers are putting fentanyl and it's killing a bunch of people. Maybe there's something else going on.
It's definitely a possibility. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not too like involved in that. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely, it wouldn't be surprising at all.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a cope thing. That's a cope thing. That's a way for me to. There's a weird the way that the relationship that society has with drugs, I think, is weird.
Yeah.
I'm not pro-drug. I used to do a good amount of drugs, never like heroin or nothing, but just regularly partied, and I don't anymore. I don't think it's a good move. But society, the way it treats drugs and its like demonization of them, I think is weird, and I don't understand it. That's the best way I can say it. Like it's not that I think that I don't know what society's agenda is with it, because drugs aren't killing people in my experience.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things where they don't understand it really. What they don't understand, they always like to put I guess somewhat like of a negative image on it. Like they don't understand. So you see all these headlines and whatnot. But Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, personally, I mean, I think in moderation, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, nothing extreme.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's definitely. I mean, it's like I would say that it's definitely helped me creatively for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know what it is, man? It's lobbyists. That's what it is. It's the Pfizer. You know, it's Pfizer being like, hey, you should buy our drugs instead of buying the cheaper drugs. You know, because they used to sell heroin as over-the-counter cough syrup. They used to sell, I mean, cocaine in Coca-Cola.
Right.
Like,
that's bananas, by the way. Like,
right?
That's just. It's just like how can they keep you just like coming back? You know what I mean?
It's wild because like you don't see in history like, I don't know, a major amount of cocaine addiction behavior. Like I'm not reading through history textbooks from the early 1900s and being like, oh yeah, Teddy Roosevelt seems like he was a crack addict, but like I'm sure he was having a coke every once in a while. So like. That's part of why I think the whole vilification of drugs is weird, because like people were doing them all the time and they weren't acting the way that society says drug users act, you know, which makes me think like maybe it's not the drugs that make people act like drug addicts. Maybe it's, you know, all the mental problems that cause them to abuse drugs in the first place.
I think that's definitely the first the first issue, really.
Yeah, right.
I think maybe applying resources in that, man, because that's a big one for sure.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though. Certain drugs people get messed up on. Meth people get messed up on. But I'll tell you what. They don't ever die, in my experience. The hardcore drug users are like vampires. They just keep going, no matter what they do. It's the people who never do stuff that once they try something like heroin, that they die immediately, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, some people are just built differently.
Yeah.
You know, different tolerances, I guess. But yeah, it's I don't know, man. If that's, you know, each its own.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely, again, not to say that I'm not encouraging people to do it, but you know, as long as you you're responsible with it, you got everything else kind of going for you, and you're not just like you know off like using the shit out of it and not really being productive, and maybe you shouldn't do it. You know.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it.
All right. So let's talk about Sueno. That's your group.
Yeah, it's
tell me about it.
Yeah, it's our, so it's you know, it's and you've met Sal, my boy Rich, like it's a couple of us that make up Sueno, and so it's a little collective that, you know, we got going on. I would say we started it back in I don't know, maybe like 2-3 years ago, but yeah, you know, I feel like we got the right players in play, and we can kind of just, you know, really make something out of it for sure. You know, us, you know, me being a producer, my boy Sal also being an artist himself, dabbling in so many things. You know, dude's fucking next level, man. Richard as well, the dude that was DJing at the event that you were at. And so my boy, you know, Billy West, fucking amazing MC as well. So, you know, there's tons of us. There's my boy Russo, there's Jay, there's Emmer. There's a bunch of us just kind of, you know, a bunch of us forming this what is Sueno. And so we got, you know, our goal really with that is just to kind of bring people together, man. Eventually, just bring people together, and then just be inspired by the music ultimately, you know. That's really what we aspire to do with that.
Right on. As a group, are you guys planning on putting together a project as a group, or is it solo ambitions as a like collective?
I think it's been more solo, you know. But we definitely want to get together and just make it like a like a Dreamville type of thing. I don't know if you followed, you know, like kind of something like that would be dope.
Okay,
just kind of getting together and just making a project where it's just, you know, a couple of us maybe on one track, all of us on the other track, maybe just one of us on, you know, the third track, and then just kind of making it all a Sueno thing, just putting it out as like a Sueno thing and showcasing what we can do, you know, because we also kind of, you know, dabble in the Spanish space as well. You know, a lot of, you know, all of us are you know, Hispanic, and so you know, we need to have that in there as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is who we are. So I think you know, getting that together and putting it out for people to listen to would be dope. Absolutely.
What do you consider good music? What makes music good?
Man. I mean, something that can get you to feel something. And I guess in the most boring answer, but
yeah,
I mean, if music can get you to feel a certain type of way, then that's good music to me.
I see.
Yeah.
All right.
If they can, you know, get you to think a different way, or like move you and influence you, inspire you, then I would say that's good music.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm thinking like, why bother making music? You know, what's the point? What's the
healing,
what's the goal?
It's healing. Again, I think some of us need to be inspired. Some of us need to be motivated. Some of us are looking to heal, and I think music provides that for sure. Okay. It provides, you know, a good time. Whether you just want to party, you know, music is there. Whether you want to use it as like something that can maybe you know, where you can kind of use it as like a way to reflect. You can also, you know, look to music for that. So I definitely think we need it.
Okay.
In that sense.
Yeah. What do you think of general popular music? What's your opinion about mainstream artists? You said Dreamville. They're kind of on that.
Yeah, they're for sure.
On the brink of mainstream, let's say. Mm-hmm. What do you think of general pop music? You a fan?
Yeah. I mean, I would say I listen to mainstream artists.
I'll tell you what, it's kind of hard to know what is pop and mainstream now, considering like I have not listened to the radio in years. Have you listened to the radio?
I don't listen to the radio.
So it's hard to tell what actually is like top 40 music.
I guess. I mean, obviously you got your Drakes, you got The Weeknd, you got, you know, stuff like that.
Like legacy artists who have been around for a while, you kind of recognize them.
Yeah.
And every once in a while there's an artist that breaks big enough where you're like, oh, obviously this person.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's big right now? I'll tell you what, last year there was Olivia Rodrigo and Billie Eilish. I was listening to them constantly.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, both those albums that came out were fantastic.
Okay.
Billie Eilish's last album sounds like Yeezus. Like the production in it sounds very similar to.
Like, didn't they work together? Didn't they collab?
I don't know if they have. No? I know that like all her production is done by her brother Phineas.
Yes, you're right.
But like all of it sounds a lot like Yeezus. Like it's very 808 heavy and has these like ethereal sound effects and really like it sounds like metal, not like metal music, but like actual metal rubbing together, like that kind of sound. Like that's kind of how Yeezus sounds to me, like kind of junkyard noise, but clean somehow. And that's how the last Billie Eilish album kind of sounds. It's really 808 heavy. Yeah, but I don't know what's popping off this year. I don't know what big albums have come out.
I mean, as far as like, you know, I guess the biggest name out there right now would be Bad Bunny, because he's just taking over everything. Right?
Yeah,
I see him everywhere. He's always brought up. He's playing everywhere.
I went to a luchador match a couple of weeks ago, and there was like this.
Luchador, huh? That's crazy.
It was pretty fun. Yeah, it was really ridiculous. This school in East Los Angeles, the organization was called East Los Lucha. They just uploaded the video of it on YouTube, and it's like high quality and you get to see it all and stuff. But they had a lady there that made like sweets, like caramel apples and stuff, and she had cake pops. And one of them was a heart, and I was like, all right, I'll get 2 of them cake pops, the normal one and the heart one. And she was like, this one's a Bad Bunny one, and I guess it was the Bad Bunny logo.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bad Bunny is everywhere.
Everywhere, man. Everywhere. Blowing up like crazy.
Yeah, and it's weird because like, for as much as I'm hearing his name now, I know that he's been around for a good amount of time. He was already on the radio on like some Drake songs, right? For years now. It's strange how people can be in like the mainstream pop culture without being a household name until they just finally become a household name. You know?
It takes. It comes with time, though. You know.
Yeah.
There's so many artists out there too. It's kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, so many artists, but like every week I'm like, I'm introduced to like a new artist. I like to just kind of go on Spotify and like I'll just do like Discover Weekly, like playlist, and then I'll come across some stuff and I'm like, oh shit, like this is dope,
Yeah.
But there's just so much music out there that maybe sometimes listening to someone initially is like, okay, they were cool, but then you kind of forget about them, and then you come back to them after and you're like, oh shit, like nah, they were like they're next level. Like,
yeah, exactly. So, that
just comes with time,
Who is somebody that you've discovered on the Discover Weekly that you're like, these people are sick?
There's this dude, DJ Grumble, that I fuck with a lot, man.
Okay.
I like him a lot. He's more hip hop based. Do you know him at all?
I recognize the name, but I don't know.
Yeah, that dude's been on my fucking like top like 3. You know how like Spotify sends you your yearly fucking
your review.
Yeah, so he's been like on my top 3 like back to back. He's dope. He's like, again, very hip hop based, soulful, kind of funky maybe. But yeah, he's someone I would recommend to listen to for sure.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
DJ Grumble. There's also, I've been listening to a lot of FKJ. I don't know if you know who that is.
No.
He's a dope artist too. He's a multi instrumentalist.
Okay.
He plays the sax, he plays the keys, he can play, the bass, the guitar. Like he's everything, bro. And I got to see him live not that long ago, and he just blew my mind.
And he plays like everything. All of it live.
He'll lay like a little melody on the keys real quick,
and like loop it,
loops it on Ableton. And then just gets up, picks up the bass, lays a fucking bass line real quick, drops that, picks the sax, starts fucking playing the sax, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, that's
I'm
pretty
like,
cool.
Yo, this is insane. Like, dude's next level, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've been more like on, to be honest. I recently bought a bass guitar.
Okay.
So I'm trying to pick that up as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully, be able to put that type of performance out there.
That was my first instrument, bass.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, we got a link.
Yeah, I'm definitely down. It's actually like one of my, I think it's an underutilized instrument, because like there's some tricks you can do on a bass that are real simple that make everything just sound a lot better.
Yeah.
I am a huge Limp Bizkit fan.
Okay.
And which, like, I used to get mocked for, but they've kind of had a resurgence recently where they're kind of cool now, which it feels great for me. I feel vindicated.
Yeah, I was there from day one.
Yeah. But their bassist does, I learned stuff from listening to him, because he does these just 5 chords. He'll play the root, the fifth, and the octave, do-do-do, and it just sounds so great. Like, every time you do that, if you're just... And I learned this from years of doing worship music on the youth group band at my church when I was young. And so, like, you get the chord sheet, and it's like, oh, play A here, play B here. And it's supposed to just be chords on guitar, but on bass, it's just one note, so it's boring.
Yeah.
And so, like, I would just add in fifths and octaves, and they're never wrong. They'll always sound good because they're not flavorful enough to cause dissonance. But it causes movement, so sounds like you're doing more fancy stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. So I love bass music. Do you ever watch Adventure Time?
No, man.
No, one of the characters, Marceline the vampire, plays music on the bass and sings over it, and that's her whole songs are just bass and singing. And it's like, it's such a weird combination, but it's so cool. Like, I wish that I heard people doing that instead of playing acoustic and singing just bass.
I think it's gonna come up, man. I feel like more and more people are gonna just start, picking it up. I have a feeling that I know it's not just me that's like, yo, I need to go buy bass. There's no way it's just me. I feel it. It's an underappreciated instrument for sure.
I think maybe Thundercat has made it cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thundercat has definitely.
I mean, you hear the way he elevates, like when he's featured on like a Kendrick track or something, and you go like, oh man, did you hear that Thundercat part? And it's like,
I saw his Tiny Desk performance. He's like on it with Anderson .Paak, who I'm also a big fan of. I love Anderson, and he's jamming on there. And I'm just like, that's fucking sick, man.
Yeah,
so sick.
It's interesting how there's kind of like a disco-y kind of revival, like a disco funky revival in the Anderson .Paak, Thundercat kind of style. Those two-step style hip-hop beats I love, where instead of being like boom to the cat to the boom, it's a boom cat. It's the groovy kind of beat. Right. I love those. I love the way that people are able to flow over that. What comes to mind always is Mac Miller's What's the Use?
What's the Use is my favorite.
It's great, right?
You brought that up.
Yeah, the rhythm, the way that it's back and forth like that, I love that.
That collab is fucking beautiful. Man.
Yeah,
him and Anderson did fucking magic on that.
Oh
track.
yeah.
I love that track. It's one of my favorite tracks, honestly. Ever. Yeah, like I love that track.
Yeah, he's got a few tracks on that album and the one before that have that two-step style where I'm like, that's great. It's underutilized. It's something that people don't do, and it works well with that Thundercat kind of groovy bass where it moves around and it just has fun. Which, like, that style of bass playing, that's not me. I do not know how to do that stuff. But like, it's so good because like the bass is typically like used to set the harmony so that the other instruments can play around over it. So like the types of music like that where the bass does the playing around and the other one just lay the harmony, it's something strange about it that, I mean, I don't understand musically, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, I agree.
So what is your goal as an artist? Where do you want to be? Maybe in like 3 years.
In 3 years, I definitely see myself, performing, continue to perform, but just like on bigger stages, man. And with the squad, with Sueno. I think what we got going on is good. There's definitely potential there, and I think if we can all just continue to get better at our craft and be able to whether it be just perform, alone. Or as a group, I think that's essentially the vision is just continue to get better and really just be able to put out for the people, man.
What is like a dream project you would like to work on? I'll tell you what, like a dream that I've always had was to get a cartoon based on my life to be made. Just a cartoon, maybe drawn by the guy who made Scott Pilgrim. Something like that. What's a dream project that you have that's like that? That's like, if it's ridiculous, this will probably never happen, but if I could work on this, what would that be?
A dream project, man. That's a good question. I don't know. I think maybe like like on a minor scale maybe, and like something that I think is like tangible within reach would be maybe like also I'm a big fan of UFC.
Oh yeah.
And so I would love to get some of my music like soundtrack on some of their trailers. Like
okay,
they got this thing where they put out like a week before every main event. blanking on
the
name.
embeddeds.
Embedded, like embedded, and I think there's another one, a bigger one. But just getting my stuff played on that.
Okay, yeah. You know what would be awesome is getting a track as somebody's walkout song.
Yes, that would be crazy.
Right?
That would be crazy, man.
Yeah, so you are a UFC fan, huh?
Yeah, I'm a UFC fan.
Dude, I just had a boxing match last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
I saw, you know what? I actually saw a video of yours of you.
Oh, me getting choked out?
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, yeah, that was a fun one.
The caption read something like, "You accidentally signed up for this."
Yeah, I meant to sign up for the white belt tournament. I accidentally signed up for the qualifiers for the American grappling team. So the guy I was up against was a black belt.
He was a big boy too, man.
Yes.
He was like double your size.
It said enter your weight. I put 170. I didn't realize they used kilograms instead of pounds. So he was 250. I was 170. Yeah. So it was no chance. But I got the silver medal because I was the only other person in that weight class. So like on their website now they have like a picture of me with the medal on the pedestal next to him and nobody in the third place spot. Yeah,
that is insane.
But the boxing match I won, so I got that. Yeah.
So you said yesterday you had a
yesterday I had a boxing match. Okay. Yeah. It was a rematch against somebody I fought in September, and when we fought in September it was a draw. And so this one I went into it like I had some plans. I had some ideas of what I wanted to do. When we fought in September, we fought on mats. Okay. And he did a lot of moving. And when I'd pressure him to the edge, he'd fall out of bounds, and I'd have to give him the chance to reset. This time we were in a ring, and he couldn't escape. And every time he would try to escape, he'd get down and go out my right side, and so after a while I would just be jabbing and then like throwing these hooks and uppercuts, and he'd have nowhere to go until in between he'd finally get out, and we'd just repeat that for a whole 3 rounds. And
that's dope. You took the dub.
That's right. Yeah, whole family was there. I had like 5 nephews there watching, and I was like, I'm not letting these kids down. These kids look up to me. I fight with them. So like, yeah.
That's dope, man. I've been trying to get into either boxing or BJJ.
Yeah.
Because I've also, again, just because of MMA.
Yeah.
I've kind of,
Yeah, I recommend BJJ for people all the time. Yeah,
it seems
pretty great.
Yeah. One or the other, I don't know. You got to put me on
Yeah.
Boxing or whatever.
Yeah, I'll shoot you my gym's info. We're always looking for more people, and it's a nice. It's a small place in Linwood, so it's kind of in the hood, and it is a place where you get tested and you level up quick.
Okay. Learn quick.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of threw me in the deep ends when I went there, and I'm the kind of person who, if they let me, I will jump in the deep end, because like I'm too much of I have too much pride to say no, So the first couple weeks I showed up, my first time there I showed up on a Friday, which is our sparring night, and the coach, the head coach wasn't even there the first time. It was just the assistant, and he was like, this is our sparring night, so I don't know if you want to get
come
in
next week or something.
And I was like, no, I'll jump in. And for 3 weeks in a row on Friday nights I'd leave with a bloody nose. It's calmed down a bit since then, but to me it was like, this is me, this is how I know I'm in it. I mean, like I said, I used to get hit in hardcore shows all the time. The times in my life where there wasn't a little bit of violence were the times where I was living the worst, like when I stopped going to shows and I wasn't fighting, I started doing drugs a lot and just kind of being a lazy bum and not really having any direction. So like I feel like there's a need in me for a little bit of violence, a little bit of
chaos in there, to kind of level you out.
Enough for me to be like, to stand tall, and be like, oh, I'm somebody who can handle things,
Gotcha.
Because if I don't test myself, then I never know, and I just assume that I can't handle things,
Yeah, Interesting.
Yeah, but I highly recommend BJJ to people. I prefer the grappling stuff. I think I'm better at it. Though I'm coming around to the striking. My brother was a wrestler, and he used to wrestle me a lot as a kid. And by that I mean he would sit on me and smack me a bunch. But like, because of that, I feel a natural like inclination towards grappling stuff, because I'm like, that's in me. And so when I first started going, I was like, the BJJ stuff is for me. But after training in both for long enough, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see why striking is cool too. Yeah.
No, it's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun. Me and my friends used to get together. Like he had the gloves and the mats in his garage, and we would just kind of mess around.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to actually be able to spar someone eventually. Kind of like you said, kind of see what I can do. Really,
yeah.
I'm just kind of
see what you can handle.
Yeah, where am I at? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite fighter?
UFC fighter?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say it used to be Conor McGregor, man.
Okay.
But he's kind of got lost in the sauce.
Oh, you hear that they announced the Ultimate Fighter with him versus Chandler?
Michael Chandler is up there for me right now.
Oh man, he's great. I mean, it's remarkable how like he's lost 3 of the last 5 fights or something.
So.
But like still,
he puts up fights, bro, and he
they're
goes
the
down
best.
Swinging, and I'm like,
there's some of the best fights of last year
for sure.
Yeah, like
I don't think he's ever fought a boring fight.
Yeah,
he's had, like,
definitely not in the UFC. Yeah, every single one of them has been, if not fight of the night, top 2.
Top 2. Yeah.
The
fight against Dustin, his last fight, crazy fight.
Oh, I was not expecting that. The Justin Gaethje fight was wild. Yeah, so it's no matter win or lose, like props to him for going out there swinging. Yeah.
He's up there for me, man. He maybe not my. I don't know though, because he puts up fights, and again, he's a solid fighter. A little sad that he knocked out Tony the way he did, because Tony was great, right?
Too, yeah. It's been sad to see his decline.
Took him out with that fucking leg kick, and I'm like,
I'm stoked to see the Ultimate Fighter, because I think that like it's gonna be one of those seasons where Michael Chandler's team, I think, is going to do really good, because Mike seems like a much better coach than Conor.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if you saw the last time Conor was on with Uriah Faber. That's kind of how that one was, where like Uriah Faber is an excellent coach, and Conor just doesn't really care.
He's just all emotion, no real like.
Though like maybe this time, maybe after seeing last time, maybe he'll be like, all right, I'm gonna make these kids train or whatever. But Chandler seems like a great coach.
Chandler will end up taking it, just because he does seem like a more. He honestly, I feel like he can easily. Coach some like fighters. Yeah. Whether it be, because I also see him like as an analyst after the UFC. If he wants to kind of take on something like what DC's doing now. I can so see him doing that.
Yeah, I can see
but
that
I can
too.
also see him kind of be a coach too.
Yeah.
Maybe take the Khabib role, because I think the dude he's just well-rounded, bro.
Yeah, he seems like just a great dude too.
Great dude.
Like he's got like a bunch of adopted kids, and he just seems like a real role model.
I would love to sit down and just pick his brain a little bit, because he's just a solid dude, bro.
Yeah,
solid dude.
Yeah,
I like him.
Do you have a favorite division? Is it the lightweight?
155 for sure.
Yeah, that's got a lot of the stars. Oh, what do you got? You got expectations for the Islam Volkanovski fight?
I expect him to take it. I think Islam will take it.
You think Islam's going to take it?
I think Volkanovski is a solid fighter too. Solid guy as well. Like just like Chandler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like his style. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Respectable guy. But I think Islam's a little too much for him.
You gotta go Islam, right? I have counted Volk out too many times, and so it's hard for me to say Islam, because like I was convinced Max Holloway was going to beat him the last time, because I was like,
Max was running the show for like the longest.
Yeah,
and that was I think I would say that's probably one of my favorite fighters, Max Holloway.
He's great, right? And like the first 2 times they fought, the first one was really close. I thought Volkanovski won. The second time was really close. I thought Max won the second time. So like going in the third one, I was like, yeah, Holloway's got this. And then it wasn't close. Volkanovski destroyed him.
Levels.
And it's crazy because he's shorter and like you expect that range to be a problem especially with Holloway being fast and just so many punches at once. But like, no, he just got picked apart. And so like, I am convinced Islam's going to win. I think Islam's got underrated striking for being, because everybody thinks of him as another Dagestani wrestler, which he has that Dagestani wrestling, but like he's also knocking people out. So like I assume he's going to win, but also like you can't count Volkanovski out because he keeps on impressing me.
I think I think he's gonna submit him. I think that's the way Islam to take that fight, because again his fucking grappling is just next level, bro. I mean, he submitted Oliveira, who had the most submissions in the UFC, and he did it like, you know, somewhat like it kind of made it look easy.
Definitely. I mean, I think it was second round, and even you expect at least for him to have to make him tired before he's able to fall into a submission, but no, second round, that's wild.
Crazy.
It's crazy to me how dominant that whole clan of Dagestani wrestlers are, because it's not just Khabib and Islam. There's the light Magomed Ankalaev. There's Zabit Magomed Shapirov. Like they have a guy in like every weight class that's dominating,
different breed.
And it's like they have figured something out about fighting that the rest of the world apparently has not known yet.
I think it's maybe them training with Bear Cubs.
Right.
Like 3 years old or something.
Yeah. Have you heard people talk about Yoel Romero's muscles and how like he
looks like he's like out of the lab type shit?
Yeah. I assume like that's the kind of thing that comes from just a lifetime of doing the same kind of stuff over and over, like wrestling from the age of 3. And I guess it's the same thing with these Russian guys, where like they've been wrestling since they were little kids, and so like the muscles have just compacted until they're incredible.
That's they got that going for sure, man. And it's and I'll be honest, I actually wasn't a big fan of like the grappling game. And I always enjoyed more of the stand up.
It's flashier.
But then also just seeing how fucking dominant Khabib was, I was just like, you gotta respect the guy for what he's doing. You know what I mean?
That's the thing that makes people grappling fans, I think, is when they see someone who's not holding someone down for 5 rounds, they're seeing someone finish from the ground. That's what makes it be like, oh snap, this grappling stuff's pretty cool. Because when you see somebody pull off an armbar or something, you're like, oh snap. But like a lot of like from an outsider's perspective, like before I started watching UFC, the bits that I saw of grappling were just these matches of like just somebody in control for every round, and it's like, oh, that's not an really interesting fight.
Just kind of like, hold them down.
It's that progression that makes it interesting. Especially when you know like the different positions, when you start recognizing, oh, he's going to side mount. This is dangerous right here. Then it starts getting way more interesting. When you see Khabib just maul somebody, just bash their face in for a while, that's wonderful to watch.
You gotta respect it.
Alright, so we have reached the end of the podcast. I always give an opportunity for my guests to shout out anything that they want, any other artists, musical artists, visual artists, any businesses, any restaurants, any I don't know, taxidermists, whatever. Whatever you want to shout out.
Before you got people shout out.
No, that was the first thing that came to mind.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, people can definitely find me at Instagram, mainly at Ace Montiel. That's all you have to enter. But yeah, man, I'm just working on some stuff. Again, I'm trying to incorporate different elements to my music, and hopefully get some stuff out in the near future. So,
Cool.
Be on the lookout. I'm trying to put some stuff out on Spotify this time rather than SoundCloud.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Some of these bigger platforms. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for Sueno. You can also just find us on Instagram, simply type in Sueno. And so, yeah, man, that's it.
All right, man. Then thank you so much for sitting down with me, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Have a good night, everybody.
Giving up my crown, I'm feeling blessed. Tell me how are you? Just let me know if there's anything that I could do. Yeah, I'm feeling blessed. Tell me how are you? Ain't nobody change the world like them servants do.